sometimes a video that you least expect to blow up ends up blowing up. And you're like, that was the video? The one that you did like the least amount of editing on, that you just kind of slapped together, is the one that just took off? Why?
You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 415. And today we're going to learn how to make money on YouTube without even having to have a big audience. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs and ripple makers. It is your host, Melanie Benson, Authority Amplifier, to impact-driven entrepreneurs ready to make a bigger ripple in their business. And today, we've got a guest joining us to talk about YouTube, which we haven't talked a lot about on the show. And I thought it was really fascinating how much opportunity there is, even if you don't have a big audience. And I wanted to talk a little bit about audience before we jump into today. As we're recording this episode and getting ready to air it, there is a lot shifting in the coaching marketplace and the expert marketplace and in the world, right? So I look at audience and I'm starting to see it through a unique lens. And one of the things that's going to be so vital, especially if you've been in a business that's not performing well over the last few weeks, months, maybe even years, is the quality and the connection in your audience. You can have any platform. You can have a podcast. You can have a YouTube channel. You can have an email list. You can have a Facebook group. You can have a community that you meet live, whatever your audience building technique is, your social media platforms, the quality and the connection that you establish in that community is going to make or break your business in the next 12 to 24 months. Behind the scenes, I'm meeting with a lot of people who consider themselves ripple makers. They're thought leaders. They're established business owners who have a fair amount of influence in the community. And we've been looking at what's happening, right? Like, how do we shift the tides, or at least how do we collectively rise together? How do we integrate more support systems, more clarity, more support, if you will, for people who are really struggling right now. And even people who are used to making 7 and 8 figures have been impacted by all these changes, right? So what has to shift? I believe that what has to shift is there has to be more trust. There has to be more intimacy. There has to be more connection. There has to be more authenticity. And I think what's happening in our community at large is a lot of audiences are built on illusion. Now, I hope if you're here, you feel my authentic desire to make a deep impact in the world. And you're here because that's what you want to. You're here because this is what you believe in. Like, you believe in making an impact, and you know that rising together is going to be more sustainable and more impactful than maybe striking out all on your own and trying to fight your way through the confusion and the noise out there. So here's an invitation for you. I want to work with ripple makers. I believe in people who are committed to making bigger waves, no matter what, and who are willing to get uncomfortable, are willing to take big, bold action, that are willing to do something they've never done before to create real transformation. Those are my people. Those, and again, like, if you don't see yourself there, that's totally okay. I love you too. Like, I believe in you. You're in a different part of the journey, which is totally cool. But right now there's a catalytic experience that's happening with ripple makers. And there are some things happening here where we're going to gather ripple makers. And I'm very excited about what's happening. But what has to happen first is you have to have some fundamentals in place. I'm going to be hosting a masterclass This masterclass is all about your ripple making machine. What has to be in place to not just make a greater impact, but to be doing good for yourself, for your family, for the communities that you serve. So I am going to unpack all of this in the masterclass in just a few days. If this is speaking to you, then I invite you to come join us. If you go to melaniebenson.com/masterclass, you will get an invitation to join us. So if you felt like you are meant to make a great impact, you are a ripple maker, but your ripple isn't big enough, your waves are not strong enough, and maybe it's because you're a little confused, you're conflicted, it's not working, you've been doing it all yourself, whatever the limit has been up to now, but you know it's time to step up, it's time to step into this vision, then join us. Okay, we'll link it up in the show notes for you as well. Now, let's get into this amazing conversation about YouTube. Welcome back, amplifiers. We're talking about YouTube today. I get so many questions from the community here about how can I use it for lead generating? How can I use it for client attraction? What is the secret to using YouTube? So I thought I'd ask somebody who's actually doing that. Let me introduce you to James Allen. Now, he is an online coach for coaches and content creators who want to have automated and scalable income that frees up their time so they can ditch the hustle and grind. That sounds good, doesn't it? Originally a productivity coach, James was obsessed with how to work fewer hours while simultaneously growing his income, which led him to learn about creating passive income with digital products. He's the founder of profityourknowledge.com and has a passion for helping people turn their knowledge, ideas, and skills into automated income. James, thank you so much for being here today. We've had a fun getting to know each other process, and it's going to be exciting for me to dig a little bit into your mind today.
Heck yeah. Yeah, you were just on my podcast, and I'm super excited to be here and honored for the invite, Melanie. So
Yeah, you're
ask
welcome.
away. I'm ready.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about YouTube, and I feel like YouTube's like this really interesting platform that was before so many other platforms, but has morphed a lot. What do you think is really happening on YouTube that we need to lean into and pay attention to as course creators, as content generators, coaches that, you know, they want to be visible and attract more clients?
Yeah, I do just want to squish this bug just early on because we talked about it in our little green room, if you will, right before we recorded. That I'm not a YouTube guru expert
Mhm.
guy. I'm just a guy who has a business, and I've been able to use YouTube to help me grow that business. And I've learned a lot about YouTube, and I've invested a lot of money into people who are those YouTube experts, and they've taught me so many things that have really helped me. And I've also invested in some people where it's that just didn't work for me, which actually is a really important thing to talk about, if especially for us as business owners or entrepreneurs or coaches or speakers, that kind of stuff. YouTube is such an amazing platform because there's so many ways to leverage the platform. A lot of people think, and they're intimidated by this, that they have to have all this super crazy editing. It has to there's a persona of YouTube, which is like Mr. Beast. And there's even been such thing as called the Mr. Beastification of YouTube, where basically everybody has been replicating the Mr. Beast crazy editing, super in your face style. But then there's also this part of YouTube when you start to explore it a bit more, of these really laid back videos with minimal editing, and they're getting crazy views, like 500,000 views or a million or multi-millions views. And there's this one of this old Western guy, and he's this old cowboy with the plains behind him, just sitting on his deck talking for 30 minutes, and he has 6 million views, probably more by now. And there's no editing whatsoever. So it's just a really interesting dynamic that's way different than what a lot of people think they have to do to be successful on the platform. And in the end, what I've learned is that people just want to learn from credible people who know what they're talking about, and that they can rely on a certain channel or person, creator, for a certain thing. So there's a lot to unpack there, but that's how we can start using YouTube to not necessarily go viral, but kind of go semi-viral and still get a lot of traffic to our business to still make sales.
Well, and let's talk about going viral, right? I think there's this picture that's been painted about what might happen if you go viral. And I don't know about you, but going viral doesn't necessarily mean you're getting a ton of clients.
No.
It just means something's taking off. And I would say there's a distinction between creating content that goes viral and creating content that moves your ideal clients into action and gets them to say, hey, what do you got for me? What do you think about that?
No, it's huge. And that's the whole thing is people think that it's about having all the views. And views are important. I mean, if you can get more of the right people watching your videos or listening to your podcast that, like you said, they are actually willing to buy and they're like, I want to learn more about how to work with you or check out your programs, like that's better. But what a lot of people do, I mean, take Alex Hermosi, for example. He made a couple of videos, but one in particular where he was talking about his change in his content strategy. And he broke down all the math, everything with YouTube specifically. And he was like, yeah, we were posting a lot of content about relationships, or we're posting a lot of content about fitness. He was doing a bunch of like cooking high protein meals to get more lean and stuff like that. And then they were also doing business. And the hope was that if we make more of this content that appeals to the masses, we're going to get more people from that like off topic interested in our business stuff. And it like did get them a ton of views, like millions and millions of views. But then they changed their approach because they realized that their sales weren't really climbing super high despite the amount of views they were getting because they were going more broad. So he started releasing more niche content that was more deep dives. And he's like, if you're going to sit with me for 30 minutes to an hour or 40 minutes or something, and you're going to listen to me teach you like all I know about this topic, then you're the right person that I want to keep around. Like, I want to make content for you. And what happened? Their views went down significantly, but their profits went way higher, like through the roof, because he was making the content that the right people were interested in and getting them over. And then he had the right kind of offers on the back end. And that's how he's able to grow his business more. So we can learn so much from that because, like, you can make a video, and I've done this before where I make a video, it's more general, it's a hot topic, and you get a bunch of views from it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those people are going to buy from you. So you have to be like, I would rather have fewer views if it means that they're the right people that are actually going to buy my stuff.
Yeah, I think this is so important. And by the way, this goes across all social media platforms. Vanity metrics are only important if you're doing influencer marketing and you're getting paid for the number of followers you have and how much you go viral, right? Well, what's important to you and I think, and as you're listening in, you too, is how many of those people are taking action and getting on our email list, or they're reaching out and booking a consultation, or they're actually transforming into an ideal client who is, putting money into a solution. That's what we're trying to move for, and that's a different kind of content. So how does YouTube really, I mean, what do you want us to know about YouTube in that role? Because let's say someone's just getting started, or they've got a YouTube channel, but it's never really done much. And now they're like, I'm taking YouTube seriously now. I want to really make it work for me. What do we need to be thinking about?
Yeah. So if you are, thinking about getting started, or you've been doing YouTube, especially I would say this, if you've been doing YouTube and you haven't been really getting any real like good results, look at your channel. And there's channels like vidIQ who do this. They do lives like every week or every month, and they just pick one person or a couple people and they do an audit on the person's channel. And what they do is they just look at the person's channel. They're not getting back end stats on their videos or anything like that. They're literally just looking at the person's channel and getting a perspective of what the channel is about. And 9 times out of 10, they don't even know. So if you can look at your channel and you can be like, clearly the channel is about this. Like with vidIQ, for example, it says like transform your passion into YouTube presence. And every single video is how to get more views on YouTube, how to get more subscribers on YouTube. It's really clear as to like what they do. They're not talking about how to get more views on YouTube and then here's how to like get an eagle in golf, or like, they're going into all these different topics, but that's what a lot of us end up doing. And there's no real clear thing or like reason that your channel exists that makes it more referable. Like if you have a channel in the fitness niche and you help people get 6 packs, that's your whole thing, which there are legitimate channels that make a ton of money doing that, or get super lean. And let's say your channel is called like 6 Pack Sammy, if I am talking about stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, like six pack Sammy helped me so much. And then my friend's like, oh, I'd love to have a six pack. Then I could be like, have you seen Six Pack Sammy? Her YouTube channel is all about it. She teaches you nutrition, like the right exercises, all this kind of stuff related to getting that goal. So you build your YouTube channel around a goal for the viewer, which is what your niche is going to be. Like they're coming to you because they want to learn how to do a big specific thing. All the videos you make are solving the small little problems that come with that. Like in the example of Six Pack Sammy, there's nutrition, how to eat to get a six pack. This one meal helped me burn fat so much faster for my six pack, something like that. So it's just looking at the channel, making sure that everything is very clear and on topic with one specific thing. And that's going to serve you so much better. And a lot of times, like I look at people and they say that, and I can just see like their titles and thumbnails aren't good. Like the title is way too long, so it's just running off of the screen. It's not punchy. It's not really clear, or it's too clever. And then the thumbnail is just like a picture of them, like a still frame, and it's like you have to put a lot of time, like in all the investments I've done with YouTube, you have to really put a lot of time into the packaging, which is like, the hardest part of YouTube is getting a click on your video. And then the second hardest part is getting them to stay and keep watching the video. But packaging is so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've learned that too. So those some good things to do. What do we need to not do on YouTube? Things that kind of like they're just algorithm killers. That doesn't work. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, things not to do. Again, I'm not like the YouTube guru, but I think that things not to do is, I mean, it really depends on where someone's at. If somebody's like started a channel and they're trying to do things, like one of the big things is just talking about whatever you want. If you're going to build a business, you have to really understand your audience. And that's part of really good packaging, like I just mentioned. Because if I know that my audience is trying to achieve this goal, I can create better packaging that really like pokes at a problem or a desire they have. For example, let's say that I build an entire YouTube channel on how to be an amateur golfer and go pro, how to take an amateur golfer to go pro. One of my videos in the packaging of this that could really play into the psychology of my viewer who's an amateur golfer that wants to go pro, I would say in the title, how a pro golfer actually grips their club. And me being an amateur wanting to go pro, if I can learn how the pros grip their club, that's going to be a game changer. And then the thumbnail could be a picture of them holding on to the golf club. And it looks like a normal thing, but it says pros do this or do this with an arrow pointing over to the handle. It's like if I'm an amateur golfer trying to go pro, I'm going to click on that video, and then I'm going to want to watch it because it tugged on my desire and kind of poked at me. It's like, ooh, I can start to think like, ooh, how do the pros do it? And I'm asking questions like, what are they doing differently than me? And it's creating curiosity just by looking at the packaging. I haven't even clicked on the video, and I'm already so intrigued, salivating at the mouth on like what this video is going to help me do so I can show off to my friends that I know something they don't, or win that next competition. So that's so big. And a lot of people, they just don't put the time into that. And part of it too, I think like something that is a big mistake that people make is creating their thumbnails and the title last minute. This is probably like the biggest like YouTube mistake. And every single person I've ever invested in and learned from, like all the pros in YouTube, what they do, how a pro YouTuber actually makes a video is they put so much time into the pre-production, into the idea of what's the video about, who specifically is this for? Is it more for a broad audience or more for like a niche audience? Because there are benefits to going a bit more broad, but still staying on topic with your channel. Mm-hmm. And they come up with multiple different thumbnails and titles before they've even created the intro for the content, just to test things. And then they start making the content, and then they record, and then they edit. So it's I think that's probably like the biggest thing without overwhelming anybody is make your thumbnails and titles before you even record the video. because that's also like the way that people watch YouTube videos. You see a thumbnail and title, you click on it, and then you watch the content. But most creators, they make the content and then they slap together a thumbnail last minute, or just take a screen grab from the video, which usually is not, that's not best practice. I'm not going to say it doesn't work, because sometimes people have done it, but it's not best practice.
Yeah, that's good, and that's what we've learned as well. I mean, YouTube is not my superpower for any means, but we've learned a little bit about, the keywords and all of that that really matters. And I was just kind of curious because we're talking about this from the in the trenches, real, like I'm using YouTube. Here's what's working. Have you noticed if there's a length of video that matters? Is there a sweet spot for your listener base or your watching base?
That depends on your audience,
Mm,
because like what is commonly taught is if you can make videos between 5 and 15 minutes long, I would say that'd be a sweet spot to start shooting for. However, sometimes longer videos work a lot better. It depends on the type of channel you have. And I think this is a huge thing too, that you have to just experiment with different lengths, experiment with different formats. If it's you sitting in your studio and you're doing that all the time, and then the next video is you doing like a day in the life where you walk holding your camera and it's more like a vlog style, like experiment with some different formats. I really want to do more of this myself. I want to experiment with different formats and make a video that's more laid back, where I'm sitting on my couch, instead of in my nice little studio, or switching between them. There's a really cool style, and this has worked super well with a lot of videos. Is someone had like 40 things I wish I knew when I was 20, now that I'm 40, or it's something like that. And it's like 40 tips. It was crazy. But every single tip is in a different location, which is
oh,
really
wow.
interesting.
That
Yeah.
feels like a lot
But
of editing, but yes, I could see that would be fun.
pro tip is you can break that up into, let's say, like 5 tips. Every 5 tips is in one location, and you
Mm,
record yourself, and then you turn like a like a 180 degrees or even less. You just do like a quarter turn and then record again, so it looks like a totally different background, and then you'll be fine. You can kind of mix things up like that. Um, but yeah, that's kind of another thing, just to mix up the video a bit more. But I would test with different lengths, like try some longer ones, try some shorter ones, and you have to just see like, oh, the video. Oh, I feel like this happens a lot. Sometimes the video that you least expect to blow up ends up blowing up, and you're like, that was the video. The one that you did like the least amount of editing on, that you just kind of slapped together, is the one that just took off. Why? And then analyzing things, like so much of it is just experimentation. You can listen to content, watch videos and stuff, and try and get it perfect. But in the end, like just like business in general, you have to just experiment and try different things. But yeah, I mean, the short answer though, if you want like the quote unquote recommended length between 5 and 15 minutes, I would say is a good like
mm.
ballpark. Because most people, it's like, if you see how a pro golfer actually grips their club, and there's two variations of that, one is 3 hours long, the other one is 10 minutes long, you're gonna be like, I got 10 minutes, so I'll click on the video. So because a timestamp does have a big impact on people clicking on your video. But like Alex Hermosi, there's a really big video floating around right now, style of video, that's 30 years of business advice in 30 minutes or in 2 hours. So it's like, if it says 30 years of business advice in 2 hours, your video should be 2 hours long, and also it's like 30 years, like, whoa, that's a lot packaged in 30 minutes. So it totally just depends.
Okay. And I think you hit the most important comment or piece of wisdom that we could say, and that is test. What works for James or what works for me, you got to figure out what works for you. And we can give you some guidelines and some bumpers, if you will, of things to not waste time on. However, your audience is your audience, your message is your message, your offer is your offer, and you got to figure out what works in your world. So that's really what it comes down to, is marketing is all about testing what's going to land with my audience, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about something. You're a digital marketing expert. You help people create passive income. You use digital products, and we both know that what happens in YouTube is one piece of a bigger puzzle. And I'm just curious, like in your experience, if someone's going to leverage YouTube, what needs to happen after the person watches the YouTube video, that's where the cash flow starts, right? Because it's not the videos themselves that's making the money, it's what they do once they watch the video.
Yeah. So it all works in a really, I guess, a really like beautiful way together where YouTube is very top of funnel. You're testing different content, you're trying new stuff, you're introducing new ideas. And then you have a course or a program where it's like your best content, put in a systematic, beautiful step by step order where it'll take them to get a certain result. Um, when you're making YouTube content, all of that is building a relationship with people. And I mean, if you want to keep your funnel very simple, you don't even have to do email, follow up sequence, or any of that. Like you can literally make YouTube videos and just have it go straight to book a call with you. It can
Mhm.
be that simple. And you can have a little application form. I've had so many people who book calls with me or they buy a program from me and then I finally get to like meet them or talk with them in an email or something. And they're like, yeah, I found you through your YouTube channel and I watched a video. I thought it was awesome. And then I binge watched like 10 of your videos. And I said, I have to learn more from this guy. So I booked a call or I bought your program. And they said, I feel like I know you. And they say that all the time. And it's like, I've never met you in my life. But that's the power of YouTube. And I think a huge thing, you know, the more I've been thinking a lot lately about YouTube and like, my whole thing is I don't want to do insane editing. I want to attract the right people. I want to showcase my expertise, you know, and as I get better and better, I can showcase more helpful resource and just be a helping hand with people. But I see these channels, like William Brown is one guy. He does very simple editing, and he's one of those examples where he's doing all the crazy editing, and then he made a video, and it was like how he sold his company. Like I just sold my company for like $1.3 million. And that was the video. And it's just like him sitting. And he's like, I just had to share this. So he just shared this experience. And that video is like his second most high performing video ever. And it's like, it's one of those ones where it's like the one I just kind of threw out there is the one that took off. But all of that is building a relationship with your people, and they want to find somebody who is credible that they can relate to. And I think a lot of people, and this is really hard to act natural on camera. It takes a lot of practice, and people tell me like, James, oh, you seem so natural on camera. It's like, well, I've been doing it for like 6 years, you know, like all the time, just getting on videos and different things like that. And that's why I'm a lot more comfortable on camera, but it just takes practice. And my old videos were so awkward. If I look back at them, I'm like, oh my gosh, what was I doing? But I think that that's such a big piece. That's why it's so important top of funnel. And then when you get into offering your link, I like to offer a lead magnet because that kind of like it just adds more of a, I guess a like a drip in an application process, if you will. Because if you just went straight to your calendar link, like you can get anyone on
Mhm.
there, unless you have more of like a application process or pay to book a call or something like that. But if they join your email list, like they're taking an extra step, so they're a bit more committed. And if you can offer a lead magnet, like a short PDF or a quick video, and it quickly solves a persistent problem that these people face, you're going to be attracting more of the right people. And then from there, they can learn about your program. So I remember like building a whole course, and I did a launch, and then I was turning it evergreen to where I could just sell by itself. And I made a YouTube video and I officially mentioned my lead magnet in the video. I was like, by the way, here's this really cool training. It's going to help you do this. Link in the description. Send out the video. Literally that day, I was making sales because people clicked on it. They found out about my program, and then they purchased the program. But it's like a brand new course right then and there. And that's the power of YouTube. It's like it is always working for you too. So it's literally nurturing people, getting discovered by people, building this relationship, and it's like a carbon copy of yourself. And I think that's what makes it such a powerful platform. Is like I'm not even meeting these people, but they're building this relationship with me. So by the time they get to my product or to book a call with me, or you know, they're on the call to sign up with me, they usually sign up right there on the spot because they feel like they know me. So it builds that know, like, and trust factor just so well.
Yeah, and you're also establishing your expertise and authority through the platform. So I think that it's a lot like a podcast in a way, you know. It's like,
Totally.
but the video gives people another level of connection because they see your face instead of just hear your voice. So it's definitely is valuable. That's awesome. So I guess as we're looking at YouTube, as you're listening in today, I think the thing to remember is YouTube's one piece of the puzzle. It could be great for, pulling in interested parties. And James has shared some great things to think about as you get your presence on YouTube up. And I think the big thing to remember is it doesn't like it's not the where the sale takes place. It's how we bring people into our orbit, and that's where the lead magnet comes in. That's where you need to move them into your what we might call your client journey. If somebody wants to go a little bit deeper into how they can kind of build this online presence and your how your technique works, what would be the best place for them to start?
Yeah, so I have a free masterclass, and I'm actually going to be revamping. I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes on my business, but the masterclass will still be available, and it's how to earn $2,000 per month from digital products without complicated tech. So it is designed just to give you the foundations, how to create a great digital product faster than you probably think, because there's a really good strategy in there, and then how to build a simple system like we're talking about, and then how to drive traffic to the system. YouTube is just one way. You just mentioned a podcast,
Mhm.
amazing platform that you can build a great business on, but also blogging. I have a coach of mine. He's built his whole, actually, two coaches that I've worked with. They've both built their business through blogging. So I think that picking a long form content platform is the key. I personally just love YouTube. I've always liked YouTube. I like video. I like making YouTube videos. So, but I do have a podcast as well. But yeah, I cover all that inside the masterclass. You can get it by going to profityourknowledge.com/masterclass.
Cool. And we will link that up in the show notes for you just to make it easy. James, this is the time where I like to ask a couple fun questions to help our community get to know you better, as we were talking about. That's really where we build trust and rapport with people when we know them a little bit better. And I always have fun getting to know my guests a little bit with, like, what do you think is the boldest thing you ever did that ended up amplifying your success in your business?
Starting it, quite
Okay.
frankly, like literally, I think. Well, yeah, I mean that was a game changer, because I think that's really the hardest thing to do. And I was just talking with someone earlier today about like how I make more than I did when I was doing my old job. That my dad worked so hard. I was a blue collar worker in San Francisco, and I was so scared to start my business, but that was just like such a game changer, because now I work like 20 hours a week on the business on average, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes less. But I make a good six-figure income, and I get to support my girlfriend and the people I like and care about. And yeah, it's just awesome. Like I'm not breaking my back every day going to work. So it's I think that was probably like really the boldest thing that I ever did. And there's been other things that have happened, but just committing to it and figuring it out.
Sometimes that's the boldest thing we do is keep committing to the business with the ups
Yeah.
and downs. I mean, it sounds like you've been in it around 6 years. I've been in it 24 years this year, and, I can tell you as you're listening in, sometimes you have to keep recommitting just like you do to a marriage, right?
Mm, true.
So if you look back from today to the beginning, is there something you wish you would have done sooner because now you know how valuable it was going to be?
Yeah, I wish that I did start sooner, because I did postpone it for a couple years. But also, I wish that I really paid attention. And I guess there's a lot of things actually, but I do wish that I understood the value of really like picking a good niche sooner, because I pushed that off, and like creating your avatar and all that. I was like, it seems too complicated. I don't want to do that. And now I have different ways of explaining it to people to hopefully make it simple so people can understand the importance, but also learning copywriting. I wish I did that sooner, because that would be so much better by now. The last like 2 years, I would say I got really serious about it. And that's a game changer, because if you can write well, you can literally like print money out of thin air, assuming you have a good digital product. It's crazy. Like that's how you make a sales page that's literally working for you day in and day out, and makes you money even when you travel or you're not working. It's through copywriting. That's how you get the right leads onto your email list, like all that stuff. So I really wish that I developed that skill sooner.
Mhm. It's interesting you brought that up because early in my career, Writing was not my superpower, copywriting, and I just used to be so jealous of the copywriters I knew because I would look at the words coming off the pages going, "Oh, that's beautiful." And yes, I would have to agree, like really developing that skill, whether you consider yourself a great copywriter or good enough, like it is a skill everybody needs. It's super valuable. Well, James, I love hearing from people who are in the trenches doing something and really like thank you for taking time to share a part of what's working for you right now with YouTube and your presence and sharing a great resource with everybody. Thank you. It's been really fun to kind of pick your brain a little bit and have you share how you are using YouTube with our community.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. Super fun. Hopefully you got some good nuggets from today.
Yeah, you got it. And as you're listening in today, give us a shout out and let us know, what are you going to implement? Are you going to get on active? Are you going to get active on YouTube? Or are you going to make the YouTube channel that you have better? Let us know what you're going to do with it. Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. We're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.